Well, butter my biscuit, Dolly here. Switchboard's LAT. We got stories backed up. Today's theme is petty revenge, sugar, and oh, honey, these people did not come to play. I got 4 calls queued up, and every single one of them is going to make you pump your fist. Let's get into it, darling. First up, we got a hotel night shift worker who got thrown under the bus by her lazy coworker. So she stopped doing one tiny little thing and watched the whole house of cards fall. I'm ringing up Hank Hill for this one. He is going to have thoughts.
Hank Hill speaking.
Hank, honey, I got a workplace story for you. A young woman on the overnight shift at a hotel had a coworker who did none of the work but took all the credit. Go on and give it a listen, sweetheart.
All right, Dolly. A workplace story. I can do that. Let's hear it. So there's this young woman working the overnight shift at one of those roadside hotels. Just 2 people on staff at 3 in the morning. Her and this fella, let's call him Eric, who apparently had decided that looking busy was the same thing as being busy, which it is not. Dadgummit, I had a fella at Strickland Propane pull that same routine for 6 weeks. Bill Douderiv could have done a better job, and Bill once tried to refuel his grill with ranch dressing. Now, every morning, the breakfast crew needed the waffle batter moved out of the freezer ahead of time so it'd be ready. Somebody had to remember to do it around 5 in the morning. And every single shift, it was this woman who nudged Eric about it, because if it got missed, they both caught grief from the morning manager. I tell you what, if Bobby ever forgot to do his chores and then told Peggy the first was the forgetful one, I would sit that boy down at the kitchen table and we would have a very long talk about personal accountability. A very long talk. Then Eric goes and tells the manager that this woman was the one dropping the ball on closing duties, but that he always caught her mistakes. In front of the manager, out loud, with his own mouth. Sweet Lord. That is the kind of thing that happens when a fella never had to mow his own lawn growing up. You lose all respect for honest work. That boy needs to apologize to his mama. So she stops reminding him, just stops. Does her own work, keeps her mouth shut, and waits. 3 shifts go by. Morning comes, the breakfast attendant opens the freezer, and the waffle batter is still in there, solid as a block of Dale's conspiracy theories. Now hold on just a dadgum minute, because this is where it gets real satisfying. Eric tried to say he thought he handled that, and the manager just looked at him and said, well, I thought you said you always double-checked behind her. Oh, that is a clean burn right there. Cleaner than propane. He didn't get fired or nothing, but after that he stopped strutting around like a little assistant manager in a polo shirt and somehow started remembering the waffle batter on his own and helping out a whole lot more. Imagine that. That ain't just satisfying, that is justice served at the proper temperature, like a brisket done right. Now listen here. What Eric did, that is one of the lowest things a working man can do. You don't take credit for another person's labor. That is not how we do things in Ireland, and it is not how we do things anywhere decent. In my time at Strickland, if a salesman tried to claim somebody else's account, Hank Rutherford Hill would have marched him straight into Buck's office. But here's the thing, this young woman didn't need a manager to fix it. She fixed it herself, by doing absolutely nothing. That is elegant. That is Texas-level patience. Bobby couldn't have waited 3 shifts. He would have cracked by shift 2 and told Eric what was coming. She held the line. I respect that more than I can say. The waffle batter never lies, and neither does a man's work record. I tell you what.
Hank Hill delivering justice with the energy of a man who has never once burned a brisket. Now, honey, the next story is about a woman who got ghosted and cheated on, then turned all that heartbreak into a music career and is about to perform her songs about this man directly to his face. I am ringing Uncle Snoop for this one.
Uncle Snoop here. What's cracking?
Snoop, baby, I got a revenge story that involves music, heartbreak, and a man who is about to sit in an audience and listen to songs written about how badly he messed up. I think you're going to appreciate this one, sugar.
Ooh, I'm already feeling the vibration on this one. Go ahead, Dolly. Let it breathe. So we got this woman, right? She been on and off with this dude for close to 3 years. She thought he was a decent cat, a little closed off, but decent. She gets back with him, tells him straight up, go handle your issues, get some therapy, do the work. And for a minute, things was looking smooth. Nah, hold up. She laid out the whole roadmap for him. She said, here's the exit, here's the on-ramp, here's how you don't crash this. And he still crashed it. That's not a mistake, nephew. That's a choice. Then this dude just goes ghost on her. No call, no text, no nothing. Months later, she finds out he had been seeing somebody else the whole time. That was why he dipped. She confronted him, and instead of standing in his truth, he flipped it, blamed her for his own behavior, and even threw out some threats. Ugly energy all the way through. That's a negative energy deposit right there. 'Cause you don't threaten somebody, you wrong. That's like robbing somebody and then charging them for the bag you used. The audacity is astronomical. Now here's where the universe clocks in for overtime. A few days after all that, she starts writing songs. Never wrote a song in her life before. But the pain turned into music, and the music turned into a debut single. And that single started getting played on the radio. The exact radio station this dude listens to. You feel me? Big karma energy right there. The universe got the receipt, and it printed in stereo for shizzle. But it keeps going, nephew. She gets booked to perform live at some sports event. And this dude, he trains for this event all year. So he's going to be right there in the crowd. Captive audience. And she made the album artwork herself. A little collage with a figure that looks just enough like him that he'll know, but not enough that he can prove it without outing himself publicly. That is what I call a checkmate wrapped in a melody. 'Cause she built a whole career out of his worst behavior, and now he got to sit there and applaud. That's cold. That's also beautiful. See, this is what I tell people. You can't block a blessing by being petty to somebody. All you do is charge up their frequency. This dude thought he was shutting her down, ghosting her, playing her small, and all he did was hand her the inspiration for an entire album. That's a gift, nephew, wrapped in trash. She unwrapped it and made it gold. That's alchemy. That's what the real ones do. Martha Stewart told me once, presentation is everything. Well, this woman is about to present his worst moment back to him on a stage with a spotlight and a microphone. He helped write every word. He just don't get a writing credit. The universe got a receipt, and it's coming due in the key of G. You already know.
Uncle Snoop, laying down wisdom like it's a tract. Now, darling, story 3 is short, sweet, and involves a very cheap car, a very expensive Porsche, and a parking lot that became a battlefield. I got Chuck Norris lined up for this one, and I have a feeling he's going to keep it brief.
Norris.
Chuck, honey, I got a parking lot revenge story for you. A man drove an old beater car, and someone in a fancy Porsche decided his parking spot was basically a suggestion. Go ahead, sugar.
Understood. Go. A man worked a long shift. 8.5 hours answering phones. He parked his old Opel neatly inside the lines. Left himself room on the driver's side to get out comfortably. Went in, did his job. Came back out after his shift. A Porsche had parked so close to his driver's side that the mirrors were nearly touching. Chuck Norris doesn't need room to get into a car. The car gets out of Chuck Norris's way. But this man had a different approach. Both are valid. The Porsche owner calculated that the expensive car would intimidate the cheaper car's owner into quietly accepting the situation. He assumed wrong. The man with the old Opel considered his options. The old car had no resale value to protect. The Porsche had plenty. Chuck Norris once played chess with a parking attendant. Chuck Norris won. The attendant is now a grandmaster. This man saw the board the same way. The man squeezed himself into the narrow gap between the two cars. He opened his door outward against the Porsche, applied pressure, enough to get himself inside. Then his door didn't close right the first time. He had to open it again. It connected with the Porsche a second time. Then he drove home. Chuck Norris doesn't dent cars. Cars dent themselves out of respect when he walks past. This man achieved a similar result through different means. Efficiency. The Porsche owner never knew who did it. He may still be searching. He will not find answers. What he will find, eventually, is a parking spot that costs $22 a day inside a structure where no one parks near him. That is the lesson. Chuck Norris once got boxed in at a parking lot. The parking lot apologized and expanded by 3 acres. This man didn't need the lot to expand. He just needed his door to open, and it did, twice. Here's the situation plainly. A man in a valuable car chose to treat a man in a cheap car like he didn't exist. That is a miscalculation. The cheap car has nothing to lose. Chuck Norris has fought in every war, on every continent, and the one lesson that applies here is this. The most dangerous opponent is the one protecting nothing. This man protected nothing. He had a beater car, a tired body, and a door hinge. He used all 3. The Porsche owner bought a car worth more than most people's annual salary and could not park it inside a single white line. Chuck Norris doesn't park inside lines. Lines move for Chuck Norris. This man simply reminded one Porsche that the lines exist for a reason. Correct call. Chuck Norris has never needed to parallel park. But if he did, the car next to him would have moved before he arrived. That's called reputation. This man earned his...
Ha! Chuck Norris never wastes a single word, and I respect that deeply. Now, Sugar, last call of the day is a wild one. A man gets in the wrong taxi by accident. The real driver starts running up his tab on purpose, and this guy switches to an expired credit card and redirects the driver back to his house in real time. I'm calling Dom Toretto for this one because, honey, there are vehicles involved.
Yeah, Dolly.
Dom, baby, I got a story about a young man, his girlfriend, his roommate, a taxi mix-up, and a driver who decided to try and hustle the wrong person. I think this one's got your kind of energy, sweetheart.
Someone tried to hustle a man and his people. Let's hear it. Young guy, his girl, and his roommate. 3 people. They needed a ride across a few towns. They chose a cab over the train because together a cab makes sense. That's practical. That's smart. They were outside waiting. A taxi pulled up. The guy waved it down, thinking it was theirs. They got in. They rolled out. It wasn't their cab. Honest mistake happens. You get in the wrong car, you own it. He called the real driver, told him straight, I made an error, cancel the ride, I'll cover the fee, that's accountability. That's the code. But the real driver, he didn't accept the honesty. He started the ride on the app. Once a ride starts, it locks. The guy couldn't cancel from his end. So he called back and told the driver, you got to cancel it from your side. The driver said no, said he was going to let the meter run. Just drive around collecting money on this man's card. While this man was already in a different car, on his way somewhere. That ain't business. That's not even petty. That's just wrong. You don't tax somebody for being honest with you. That's a betrayal of the road. Here's where the young man shifted gears. He remembered there was an old expired card sitting on his account. He switched it to the primary payment. Dead card, no charge goes through. Then he saw the driver's live location on the app, heading the long way toward the same destination. So he changed the drop-off address back to his home address. Driver had to comply. Spent 10 minutes driving back to an empty house. He turned the driver's own route against him, redirected the car from inside the app, from inside a different moving vehicle. That's not revenge. That's precision. That's driving without touching the wheel. The driver tried to manually inflate the final charge. Hit confirm. The card bounced. The app flagged the account. The guy had the voice recording of the driver admitting he planned to run up the tab. He sent it all to the support team. Screenshots, the audio, the route map, showing the long way around. Everything. Ride ended. Charge failed. Driver answered for it. That driver thought he had the wheel. Turned out he never did. See, here's what that driver didn't understand. When somebody comes to you honest, hands up, says I made a mistake, that's a gift. You accept it, you move on, and everybody keeps rolling. That's how the road works. But that driver looked at honesty and saw an opening to take. And the moment you do that, you stop being someone worth riding with. This young man had his girl and his roommate with him. That's his crew. That's his people. And somebody tried to reach into his pocket while he was trying to get them somewhere safe. You don't do that. The recording, the expired card, the redirected route, he didn't plan any of that. He improvised because the situation demanded it. That's not reckless. That's a driver who knows the road. I respect that more than I can say. Some people drive for money. That driver found out real fast what happens when the money drives back.
Well, hon, that is 4 calls, 4 satisfying helpings of petty justice, and Dolly's switchboard is finally quiet for the first time all day. Thank you to Hank, Snoop, Chuck, and Dom for taking those calls with all the grace and wisdom they are famous for. Now, y'all be sure to comment who Dolly should bring on next. 100 votes and they get the job, hon. We'll be here when the switchboard lights back up. You take care now, sugar.